Captain Janus Avery stood on the bridge of the HMS Sojourner, surveying the planet of Relia below through the panoramic viewport. It was a lush green world teeming with life, the kind of planet humanity had dreamed of colonizing for centuries. But this mission was different. The Vrelians, a species relatively new to the interstellar community, had requested human ambassadors for a diplomatic visit. They were keen to establish trade and cultural exchange. What had caught Earth's attention, however, was the Vrelian fascination with human children. Janus frowned, replaying the briefing in her head. Vrelian culture seemed to have developed an odd reverence for human children. This had emerged from encounters with human colonists in the outer sectors. Reports indicated that Vrelians treated young humans as divine figures or symbols of purity, to the point of outright worship. It was baffling and borderline disturbing, yet every communication from the Vrelian government had assured them this reverence was harmless. Earth Command had agreed to the diplomatic mission, albeit with caution. "Commander Hellick, how's our delegation prep going?" Janus asked, turning toward her second-in-command. Hellick, a broad-shouldered Martian with a sharp tactical mind, glanced up from his station. "The delegation's ready, Captain. Our security team is briefed, and the ambassador is prepped. The Vrelians are waiting for us in their capital city." He paused, giving her a quizzical look. "Still can't wrap my head around this child worship thing, though. What do you think that's about?" Janus shook her head. "No idea. Could be anything. Misinterpretation of human behavior, maybe, or something deeper in their culture we don't understand yet. But whatever it is, we follow protocol. We're here for diplomacy, not cultural critique." Hellick smirked. "Got it. Let's just hope they don't ask for a daycare tour." As the Sojourner descended into the atmosphere, the Vrelian capital came into view. Sleek, spiraling towers of organic-looking architecture were spread across the landscape, gleaming under the planet's twin suns. The city seemed to pulse with life, and an enormous crowd had gathered in the central square, as if waiting for the human delegation to land. "Looks like a big welcome party," Janus remarked, noticing the thousands of Vrelians gathered below. "Let's make sure we give them something worth welcoming." When the shuttle touched down, Janus and her team exited into the open air. A warm breeze ruffled her uniform as she was met by the towering figures of the Vrelian Council. The Vrelians were humanoid in shape, though taller and more slender, with elongated limbs and smooth, iridescent skin that shimmered in the sunlight. Their eyes were large, almost luminous, and they moved with an elegant, fluid grace. "Welcome, honored guests from Earth," said the lead Vrelian, her voice melodious yet resonant. "I am Counselor Thaler, representative of the Vrelian High Council. We are overjoyed by your arrival. Our people have long awaited this moment." Janus nodded politely. "Thank you, Counselor. We come in the spirit of friendship and cooperation. Earth is eager to learn more about your world and share in the exchange of knowledge." Thaler's gaze swept over Janus and her team, lingering for a moment on Ambassador Celine, a human diplomat trained in interspecies relations. However, it wasn't until Thaler's eyes landed on the smallest figure in the group that her expression changed. There, nestled between two security officers, was 7-year-old Leo Avery, Janus's son. Leo had been brought along as part of the delegation due to a personal emergency that left Janus unable to leave him behind. The boy had been briefed and prepped, but Janus had been uncertain about his presence. Now she saw Thaler's reaction, an unmistakable look of awe, reverence even. "It is truly him," Thaler whispered, her voice quivering slightly. Janus tensed. "Him." "The child of Earth," Thaler breathed, taking a step forward and bowing her head slightly. "The light of innocence, the one who carries the future within." Behind her, the gathered crowd of Vrelians suddenly dropped to one knee, heads bowed in a synchronized movement. It was a display of respect that sent a chill down Janus's spine. "What is the meaning of this?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Thaler straightened, her iridescent skin glowing with excitement. "The children of your species are sacred to us. They embody purity, potential, and the eternal cycle of growth. To be in the presence of one is to be touched by the divine essence of the cosmos." Janice exchanged a quick glance with Halleck, who looked as bewildered as she felt. Leo, meanwhile, was staring up at the Vrelians with wide-eyed curiosity, seemingly unfazed by the attention. "We mean no offense, Captain," Fiddler continued, "but it is our most sacred custom to honor the young of your kind. If you would allow it, we would like to hold a celebration in the child's honor, a festival of light and life. It would be the highest tribute we can offer." Janice hesitated. This was way beyond anything she had expected. A festival for her son. The whole thing felt surreal, but she could sense the sincerity in Thaler's voice. There was no malice, no hidden agenda, just a deep, almost spiritual reverence. "I'll have to discuss this with the ambassador," Janice said carefully, "but we appreciate the gesture." Thaler bowed again. "Of course, Captain. We will await your decision. Please, let us show you to your quarters." As they walked through the grand avenues of the city, Janice couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get a lot more complicated. Despite initial reservations, Ambassador Celine advised that the festival should proceed. It would be an important gesture of goodwill, helping to strengthen ties between humanity and the Vrelians. Janice wasn't entirely convinced but agreed, if only to avoid offending their hosts. The preparations were quick, and within a day, the city was transformed. The Vrelians had decorated the streets with glowing orbs of light, creating a dazzling display that lit up the night sky. Everywhere they went, the humans were met with smiles and nods of respect, but the true focus of attention was always Leo. "Mom, why are they looking at me like that?" Leo whispered as they walked through the thronging crowds. "They just really like kids here," Janice said, keeping her tone light. "Think of it like you're a celebrity." Leo grinned, clearly enjoying the attention, but Janice couldn't shake the unease that had settled in her gut. It wasn't just the reverence. It was the way the Vrelians treated Leo, like some kind of living symbol, a personification of their deepest beliefs. As the night progressed, Leo was led to the center of a vast courtyard, where a towering statue had been unveiled in his likeness. Janice's heart skipped a beat as she saw it, a marble figure of her son, arms raised in a gesture of peace, surrounded by intricate carvings of stars and planets. "This is too much," Janice muttered under her breath. Exchanging another glance with Halleck, Thaler appeared beside them, her expression one of pure joy. "It is a humble tribute," she said softly. "The light of innocence guides us all, Captain. We only wish to honor that light." Before Janice could respond, the festival's climax began. Vrelian children, dressed in flowing white robes, danced around the statue, singing in their melodic language. The crowd watched in rapt silence, their faces aglow with reverence. Leo, standing at the center of it all, seemed mesmerized by the spectacle. Suddenly, a high-pitched chime echoed through the air, signaling the final ritual. The Vrelians knelt again, and this time, Thaler turned to Janice with an almost pleading look. "It is our greatest honor," she said softly, "to receive a blessing from the child. If it pleases you, Captain, may he place his hand upon the statue. It would mean the world to our people." Janice hesitated, glancing down at Leo. The boy was already reaching out toward the statue, curious and unafraid. She felt a knot form in her stomach. This was all happening too fast, too intensely. But before she could stop him, Leo's small hand touched the cold marble surface of the statue. A collective gasp rose from the crowd as the Vrelians pressed their foreheads to the ground. At that moment, Janice knew that the relationship between humanity and the Vrelians had changed forever. In the days following the festival, the human delegation was showered with gifts, hospitality, and endless praise. But something was gnawing at Janice. She couldn't shake the feeling that the Vrelians' worship of human children was more than just cultural eccentricity. Late one evening, as the city slept, Janus sat in the dimly lit quarters, staring at her reflection in the window. Outside, the twin moons of Relia cast an eerie glow over the landscape. "I don't like this," she muttered, speaking more to herself than to anyone else. Halleck, who had been reviewing security reports, looked up. "What's on your mind, Captain?" "This child worship thing," she said, turning to face him. "It's not just admiration or respect. It feels deeper, like they know something we don't." Halleck nodded slowly. "I've been thinking the same thing. There's a kind of obsession here. It's almost like they're waiting for something." Janice leaned forward, her voice low. "I want you to dig into their historical records, everything we can access. There has to be an explanation for this." It didn't take long for Halleck to find what they were looking for. In the ancient Vrelian texts, buried deep within their archives, was a prophecy. It spoke of a species that would one day come from the stars, bearing children who carried the spark of cosmic renewal. These children, it was said, would guide the Vrelians through a time of great change, leading them to a new era of enlightenment and prosperity. "They think our kids are the fulfillment of their prophecy," Janice whispered, reading the translated text. "They believe Leo is some kind of chosen one." Halleck's expression was grim. "That explains the statue, the festival, everything. They're not just worshiping human children, they think they're divine." Janice's mind raced. This wasn't just a cultural quirk, it was a belief system that could have serious consequences. If the Vrelians believed human children were divine, how far would they go to protect or control that divinity? "We need to get Leo out of here," she said quietly, "before things escalate." But it was too late. Outside, a soft chime echoed through the halls, signaling the arrival of a new dawn. As Janus and Halleck were digesting the implications of their discovery, a sudden commotion erupted outside their quarters. The sounds of hurried footsteps and the clamor of raised voices grew louder, signaling that something significant was happening. Janice quickly tapped her communicator. "Status report. What's going on?" A security officer's voice crackled through the comms. "Captain, there's been a breach. The Vrelians are moving through the embassy. They're heading towards Ambassador Celine and Leo." Panic surged through Janus. "Lock down the embassy. Protect the ambassador and my son. We're on our way." Halleck and Janice raced through the corridors, their footsteps echoing against the polished floors. As they neared the main hall, they could see the Vrelians, led by Counselor Fiddler, moving in a solemn procession, their expressions grim. In the center of the gathering, Leo stood surrounded by Vrelian guards, his face pale with confusion. Ambassador Celine was attempting to calm him, but her attempts were overshadowed by the overwhelming presence of the Vrelians. Fiddler raised her hands, signaling for silence. "We are honored by your presence, esteemed humans. The time of prophecy has come. The light of innocence must be safeguarded." Janus stepped forward, her voice firm but calm. "Counselor Fiddler, what is the meaning of this? We've respected your customs, but this isn't right. My son is not a symbol or a prophecy. He's a child." Fiddler's eyes softened slightly, but her demeanor remained resolute. "It is our belief that the light must be protected from the coming darkness. Our ancient texts speak of an era where the light would bring transformation, but it also speaks of trials and challenges. We must ensure that the light remains safe." Janus's heart pounded. Safe from what? From whom? Fiddler hesitated. "There are forces, both within and beyond our world, that seek to exploit the light's power. We must be vigilant." Celine stepped forward, her voice steady. "Captain Avery, we must remember that this is their belief, not a reflection of reality. We need to ensure that Leo is treated with respect and returned to his family." Janice nodded, turning to face Fiddler with a steely gaze. "We're here to cooperate, but we need to understand the full picture. If there's a threat, we need to know about it. We're not leaving without Leo." Fiddler's expression wavered, revealing a glimmer of uncertainty. After a tense moment, she nodded. Very well. We will provide you with the information you seek. But you must understand, the Vrelians are bound by tradition and fear. As the Vrelians reluctantly allowed Leo to be reunited with his mother, Fiddler began to explain. The prophecy spoke of a cosmic balance, and the Vrelians' fear was that the light of innocence could be a catalyst for great change, both positive and negative. They had been preparing for any possibility, including those they could not fully comprehend. In the end, the truth was revealed to be more complex than Janus had imagined. The Vrelians' reverence for human children was intertwined with their deepest fears and hopes for their own future. It was not a matter of worship, but a deep-seated belief in their role in the cosmos. The human delegation, including Leo, was allowed to leave Relia with a newfound understanding of the alien culture. While the experience was unsettling, it provided valuable insight into the Vrelians' worldview and their place in the galaxy. As the HMS Sojourner prepared for departure, Janus looked out at the receding planet. The encounter had been bizarre and challenging, but it had also opened doors to deeper interstellar diplomacy and understanding. "Ready for the journey home, Captain?" Hela asked, standing beside her. Janus nodded, her gaze fixed on the stars. "Ready as we'll ever be. Let's hope our next mission is a bit less cosmic." With that, the Sojourner lifted off, leaving Vrelia behind and heading back toward familiar space. The adventure had left its mark, but it was one that would shape humanity's approach to the unknown for years to come.